It's a shame that most people avoid graveyards. The dead deserve to be visited every once in a while. You'll spend more time there than you ever will spending living anyhow. It pains me to see an old graveyard fall to neglect to near one by my house, pretty much spotless. I could see that myself. That's where my father is buried. He fell ill last year and passed away only a few months ago. I've spent a lot of time in the graveyard. Since then, it had been rather lonely place, but I've become accustomed to that. Father always encouraged me to take a husband, but for one reason or another, it never really worked out. Loneliness is nothing new to me anymore. One day, when tending to the graveyard, I found a single man mason jar leaving atop of a grave. It was filled with what appeared to be murky rainwater and sticks. Assuming that it was an old flower vase that had been left out of the rain, I poured out the contents. I'd soon learn the mistake I've made. The headstone blinked on the blank on the left side. It was a couple's headstone. It must have been some sort of grim, knowing exactly where you were going, placed when you die, and when you'll spend the rest of eternity. That night I had a strange dream. It was the eeriest sights. I saw hollowed out people made entirely out of paper mache. They were all dancing in the sticky moonlight and the eaglet yet grotesque repose. These hollow people twisted and contorted in bizarre emotions, and the sound of skipping record player. I awoke to the sound coming from my living room. I climbed out of bed and cautiously approached to the bedroom door, opening it slightly and peering it through the opening of the living room. I saw nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that could have made a sound. I entered the living room just to be sure, and nothing. As a lifelong lover of the ghost stories, the thought of the spirit following me home from many graveyard trips, I've had no doubt it had its effects on me, though I was determined to not let my imagination get the better of me. I returned to my bed and tried once more to go back to sleep. A lightning storm had rolled in, and the rain was making its gracefully down the bedroom window as thunder rumbled in the background. The storm began outside to smooth my mind with the white noise, but an eerie sense came over as I lay motionless, trying to clear my thoughts. It was the feeling of someone sinister approaching, something creeping, something lurking closer and closer. Suddenly, a shadowy figure took its shape at the foot of my bed. The lightning struck loudly just outside the window and illuminated the room through the silky curtains. I bolted upright and screamed in terror. The figure was a man in a dark suit, not like any other kind they bury people in. They looked at me puzzled manner, as if he was trying to figure out who I was or if he recognized me. I looked back at him much the same way. "Darling, won't you join me?" He spoke in a low voice. "Father? Is that you?" I asked him. With that, the figure disappeared, dissolving in the darkness as if though never to be seen there again at all. The next day I went back to the graveyard. While kneeling down and cleaning the tombstone, I saw something out of the corner of my eye. I turned to look, only to see the shadowy figure standing at the east end of the side of the graveyard. I stood to my feet and stared at the dark-suited man in the distance. Softly, the specter spoke. "Won't you join me in the graveyard?" The cold wind howled across the morbid land of isolation. "There is a place for you in the dirt." The spectral man faded away into nothingness, leaving behind only a sense of unshakable dread and impending doom. I decided it was time for me to leave, but upon making my way out to the gate to the exit, I noticed a young woman weeping at the foot of a couple's grave. She had long brunette hair in the same shade as mine. There was a certain haunting beauty about her. Noticing me in her direction, she dried her eyes and stood up. "You haven't seen a mason jar in the graveyard, have you?" she asked, turning to me. Looking down, I noticed half of the headstone was blank. There was a gravestone where the mason jar had been sitting. I explained I drained the contents, thinking it was an old flower pot of sorts. Her eyes widened, and I instinctively apologized, though I didn't know yet why pouring out seemingly old water would be wrong of me. Her gaze shifted into the graveyard behind me. From the expression on her face, I knew exactly what she must be seeing. When I turned behind me, I saw nothing there but a fading black mist and a rough silhouette. She looked at me, tears filling her eyes. I tried my best to comfort her, but she told me that her husband always said that he wanted her to be buried next to him. She reluctantly agreed, and there was a miserable drunk with temper. I've spent most of my many evenings staring at the future gravestones as it mocked me, she said, sobbing. The memory of her deceased husband had lingered around her and appeared to be on her on many occasions, asking her to come back with him and take her place beside him. Nothing she could try to get the haunting to cease until her grandmother showed her an old family tradition, a method of banishing unwanted spirits. She showed her how to add the ingredients and told her to leave a jar upon its headstone. The spell worked until I came along. Now, this spirit was back amongst the graveyard. He had mistaken me for her first time around, but I haven't even seen her. He wasn't going to leave her alone again. Hearing this, I apologized profusely once more and immediately escorted her out of the cemetery towards my vehicle. From beyond the gates, we could see a darker spectator standing stolidly. The figure lifted his hand, beckoning for her. I offered her a ride to her place, which she thankfully obliged. We went back to her house, and she showed me the ingredients for the spell. Following her instructions, I helped her perform the banishing ritual to seal the contents within a jar. It was the least I could do after that horrible error. We returned to the graveyard, placed the mason jar on top of the stone, and the jar sat proudly with the silver lid on top of it, and freshly applied label reading, "Do not discard." We started talking a lot after this. Her name is Maria. She works as a waitress in town. She has told me about a lot of magic in her family's customs, and we even went to dinner together a few times and began hanging out on the weekends. She truly is a loving person, someone with a lot of compassion, kindness, and a love for life. Uh, the continents of banishing the ritual must be replenished from time to time to see if the spell repeatedly fades. Months have passed out of since all this occurred, and but it seems well for now. Since me and Maria, I haven't been spending much time alone in the graveyard. I sure to make the visit to my father's headstone often. I think he would be pleased to know that I have decided to marry. Maria looks wonderful in her gown. As long as she and I continue to do the banishing ritual, I think we'll live happily ever after. Well, my pretties, that was Tending to the Graveyard, a creepypasta written by Levi Athens. Athens, I think that's how you pronounce the last name. My final thoughts on this story. I personally, in my opinion, it's a really good story. I really do like this story, even though it's centered around a graveyard. I mean, I don't really see, much of graveyard, related stuff in creepypastas. While some of them I do see graveyard related stuff in creepypastas, but this one is definitely one of them I have never read of until I've heard a few narrations from a couple narrators who actually narrated this story, so I thought maybe I should go ahead and give this one a go. Now, I really do enjoy the concept of the story. I thought it was a good concept. It was a great story. I definitely have to say the author put a lot of time and effort into this story, which is fantastic because, I really got to say there is a lot of time and effort into this story. There is a lot of great stuff that I do have to say was good about the story. I mean, the grammar of it was pretty good too. I'm not going to lie. The grammar was flat out amazing. I really had fun enjoying reading this story. It was a good one, and I could definitely say that. The grammar's good, sentence structuring, everything about it was just flat out beautifully well done and structured. It's not like, all over the place with grammatical errors and punctuation errors, etc. It's still a pretty good story. Now, I will leave a link to this story in the description down below for any of you guys who are interested in, taking a look at this story. You are more than welcome to do so. And I highly recommend read this story if you haven't. It's a pretty good one. So, I can't really say anything that I did not like about this story because I don't have anything that I did not like about this and anything to say that I did not like about this story, but it's still a pretty good story. So, anyways, with that being said, and with that being the case, yeah. So to the author of this story, awesome job. If you happen to be watching this video, I want to say you did an awesome job with this. So with that being said, I personally really had fun narrating this story. I can definitely say right now that it's a pretty good story. So, yeah. Anyways, I guess with that being the case and with that being said, I personally really enjoyed this story. It's a good one. I definitely can say that there's a lot of time and effort into this story. I definitely really thought this was a good, enjoyable story. So, yeah. As always, like I said before, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can go check this story out. And like I'm always going to continue to say, this is just simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with me, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. I give this story a 10 out of 10. It's well made, it's amazing. I really enjoyed the story. I even had fun narrating it, which was awesome. So, to the author of the story, if you're watching this, I want to say right now that you did an amazing, awesome job with this. And I do hope you have written other stories that are just as good as this one. So, yeah, that's if the author ever were to come across this story, which, in my honest opinion, sometimes when it comes to when you upload a story that says anonymous, most of the time you don't really know who the original author is until they comment, which is a pretty rare thing. I mean, that's happened a couple times with me, but most of the time it's really rare. So, I guess with that being said, and that being the case, if I'm missing anything, let me know in the comments below if I am missing anything. And as always, I'm going to sit here and say this right now. What did you guys personally think of this story? Feel free to let me know what you guys think in the comments below, because I personally would like to hear what you all think. And as always, I am the Lion Queen. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video. If you are new to my channel, feel free to leave this video a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. Also, if you are interested in following my Twitter page. Link to that will be in the About page section of my channel, so you guys can go follow me on Twitter. If you guys want to follow me on DeviantArt, link to that will be in the About page section of my channel. Also, if you are interested in my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, link to that will be in the About page section of my channel, so you guys can go see it if you want, and you guys can go subscribe to it if you want as well. I can definitely say right now that this is definitely a good story. So, yeah. Anyways, with that being said, Ed, and with that being the case, what I'll be seeing you guys all in the next video. Peace out, and like always, please roll the outro because I'm out.